Both pilots?
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and in today's video, I'm going to cover some of the news to come out of this year's ComicsPRO Annual Meeting. ComicsPRO is the only trade organization for direct market comic book retailers. Their goals are to promote advocacy, education, and opportunity for their members and other storefront comic book retailers. In other words, advocate for local comic shops, and that's something I can get behind. I'll be specifically going over Brian Hibbs of Comix Experience in San Francisco's proposed 10-point plan to the comic book publishing and distribution industries, as well as the Pro LCS initiatives announced by both Boom Studios and AfterShock Comics at the meeting. Brian Hibbs is described as a longtime comic retailer, owner of Comix Experience in San Francisco, writer, and occasional direct market firebrand. He gave the State of the Union address at the ComicsPRO Annual Meeting this year. He admits he's got some small reputation as a bomb thrower and was surprised to be given the platform. His address is much larger in scope than just the 10-point plan, and there's a link to the entire speech in the video description. And with that, I'll jump right into his proposed 10-point plan and give my thoughts when appropriate. Stop mixing SKUs for things like minimum orders and chart reporting. Combining SKUs defeats critical economic Darwinism needed for a healthy marketplace and sends clearly distorting messages about how and what is selling. Each and every line item should stand on its own individually, and if there are variant covers that do not or cannot meet those paltry $2,500 wholesale orders, then it should not be allowed access to the national marketplace. By the same token, I call again for all sales charts to include a penetration index, a simple percentage of how many accounts are purchasing a specific SKU. SKUs that don't reach, and this is a number from a hat for a talking point, approximately 1 store in 3 probably don't deserve national distribution. All meter exceeds must go away immediately. Tying one product to another is not only immoral and creates an environment of haves and have-nots, but I also strongly believe it is against federal law. There needs to be a creation of a threshold of what the native sales of a base title must sell or be projected to sell that limits the number of variants that are allowed. I suspect the number is something like 1 for every 20,000 copies sold, but again, numbers from a hat. If you sell 20K or over, you can have a variant cover. 40K and over, you can have 2, and so on. Below those numbers, and you don't deserve any. And there is no universe outside of a once-in-a-lifetime event like Action 1000 where any single comic should have 10 or more covers. If that's not enough, I also think there should only be a certain percentage of a publisher's line that should be allowed to be variants. Again, as a from-the-hat number, I'd suggest a possible number like 25% of their total output. As you can see, all of his first 5 points deal with variant covers in one way or another, and you can't really blame him. He also wants measures in place to limit the amount of books that get national distribution, as the market is absolutely saturated with too many series. Firstly, it's putting retailers in a terrible position trying to order their books by FOC, and these practices are bleeding his customers out of the market. And let's not forget the predatory nature of the meter exceeds quotas for the most collectible SKUs, which Mr. Hibbs believes to be an illegal practice to begin with. You can sense his level of frustration with the current variant cover issue, and it's affecting his ability to properly assess his market base and order appropriately. I've always assumed that variant cover schemes were a major issue, but after seeing his first 5 points, I must admit it's much larger than I anticipated. I call for all shipping information to appear on invoices in a box-by-box format. Shipping is an entire black box at Diamond with very few, or very poor, methods for retailers to understand what this major expense genuinely entails. Frankly, it's time for Diamond to entirely reevaluate how they handle discounts and shipping, because as things currently stand, in most cases, including virtually every single exclusive publisher, it is actually cheaper to buy most backlist product anywhere but Diamond, because almost every other distribution option includes 100% or steeply discounted shipping. You hear many retailers mention Diamond Comics distribution as antiquated and in need of revamping. These are the first specific fix actions I've seen mentioned. It sounds like Diamond isn't fully accounting for all the charges incurred during shipping. It makes total sense that small business owners would want these details to help flesh out the ordering processes. I'm pretty surprised anyone could offer a better shipping price than Diamond, as no company in North America ships more comic books. I'm not going to go into details of points 7, 8, and 9. They have to do with nailing down standards regarding FOC preview information, a firm time for implementation, and returnability if standards aren't met. He also discusses series accounting codes at Diamond and applying a firm standard across all series to help with ordering and data tracking. Finally, I call for the first 3 issues of any new series to be fully, no fee, no hoop returnable from all publishers. This includes one-shots and miniseries. The only way I see to encourage publishers to be cautious and sober about what they put on the market and how they promote it is to make sure there is a financial incentive to do so. And I think returns are the mechanism with which to do that, where we are all sharing skin in the game. His final point is very important. Right now, due to a lack of returnability, direct market retailers are taking on almost all risk associated with new titles or series reboots. Allowing the first 3 issues of any new series to be fully returnable would allow retailers to order new series blind and still have a lifeline if interest isn't there. This would also encourage publishers to be more judicious when greenlighting new series and reboots, as well as incentivize them to more heavily promote them to ensure they have an audience. If this were an industry standard, I highly doubt we would be on Captain Marvel's 8th reboot, see non-writers like Zoe Quinn be handed a series with no history of creating or sales, and Marvel would be much more cautious with their variant counts for most new series. I also wanted to include a portion of his address regarding Marvel's upcoming War of the Realms event. I've covered the predatory practices associated with the event in the past, but when he gives the details, it's even worse than I imagined. Hibbs said, "Want a clear and current example of Marvel's preposterous flood the zone strategy? War of the Realms is supposed to be their major Q2 project in 2019. But in the first month alone, they're asking us to buy into 2 issues of the series being released with no sales data, as well as 4 different tie-in miniseries. All 6 of these comics, which are built around a 6-issue storyline, will require final orders from us before we sold a single comic to an actual reader." Think about the amount of risk being forced on local comic shops to offer the War of the Realms event to their customers with no previous sales history and no returnability if the event fails to resonate with customers. There were a couple positive announcements at the meeting from Boom Studios and AfterShock Comics that I wanted to cover real quick as well. At the ComicsPRO Annual Meeting, Boom Studios President of Publishing and Marketing, Filip Sablik, introduced new initiatives to help direct market retailers. The initiative doubles down on the Boom Guarantee program, launched in 2017, which has grown to currently include 6 returnable single-issue comics each month. Sablik said Boom will now make 2 graphic novels or collections fully returnable every month as well, with no minimums. Boom is also renewing its promise to cut output in 2019 by 15% compared to 2018. This is fantastic news. Boom adding 2 graphic novels to their guarantee program lets retailers know they understand some of their issues and are willing to absorb some of the risk on themselves. Cutting their series lineup by 15% will also help cut on the oversaturation of books and allow them to promote their best series more heavily. AfterShock Comics also unveiled a robust and fully funded program to support retailers at the ComicsPRO Annual Meeting. The program will include paid online advertising, targeted print ads, store customizations, Facebook ads, paid store-specific print ads, a new website, their first ongoing returnability program, 1-for-10 incentive variant covers, expansion of AfterShock's existing store visit program, and more. I can't imagine a more fully developed plan to help local comic shops than what AfterShock is rolling out. Not only will some books be returnable, but they are going all out to grow customer awareness on a national and local scale to support retailers and expand the market on their dime. This is the kind of initiative the industry desperately needs, and I hope more mid-sized publishers soon follow suit. It remains to be seen if publishers or Diamond Distribution will incorporate Brian Hibbs' 10 points into policy moving forward. It's very clear that the 2 major issues, as he sees it, are a glut of titles on the market and the out-of-control variant cover programs. It's terrific to see mid-sized publishers Boom and AfterShock taking action to assist direct market retailers, as well as Image and IDW, which I've already reported on. Unfortunately, we're still waiting for Marvel, DC, and Diamond Distribution to implement change to ease risk and assist local comic shops, as they are the 3 companies who could help the most. Of course, these are just my takes. What are yours? Do you think publishers will take Brian Hibbs' speech to heart and address the issues in the market? Are you more inclined to support Boom and AfterShock after their announcements? Will Marvel, DC, or Diamond take any action to address retailer concerns? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.